I think we're live. We're live, right? We're working. Wow, okay. Hey guys. Been a while, I think. Um, Apologies for the last minute crunch there. Yeah, so for those who have been following my current situation, I basically bought a new PC. I'll try and kind of show you on camera. Hopefully this actually doesn't unplug the camera, but uh, basically that's the new beast there. Okay, so everything's completely new and set up. I haven't actually figured out uh, all my settings yet. Let's look at the inside. Ooh, that's a nice look there. That said, I think I've unplugged my microphone. No, my microphone's fine. Okay, cool. Yep, yeah. So there we go. That's the look there. That's the inside of the machine. That is an Intel i9 9900K. Beautiful little iBook CPU there. That's a RTX 2080 Ti, and it's 32 gig RAM, and that is absolutely beautiful. So that is a powerful machine. The GPU is currently angled. I haven't figured out which is the optimal place to turn the GPU, but I'll do it later. Like I said, it's a very fresh build. Got it pre-made actually, but we'll figure it out later on. Anyway, that's the situation. Ted, obviously, I haven't actually done anything with my PC yet. I haven't done any videos or anything else. Just trying to reinstall things, which is pretty fast given the current specs. But I haven't done much with it yet. So I'm currently working on a video for the first time with this new rig. Things should be a lot faster, and etc. etc. But there we go. So things are actually working as intended. That is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I just had to do a last second fix for all my OBS settings, trying to get my browser working and all that. So all the windows work fine. I had completely forgot about the whole live stream thing as we normally do. So those who are just joining us for the first time, this is our monthly archery Q&A where you get to ask questions about archery. We'll be running for about an hour-ish. I didn't announce this particularly early. I normally give a week's notice, but completely forgot that it was the end of the month, and I didn't want to run to August to do our live stream. So we're here. We have a few quick questions in the Facebook and YouTube post, but otherwise, I'm going to take live questions from you in chat. But in the meantime, let's go over to our pre-prepared materials. I want to firstly feature my Facebook page. That's where I got my initial batch of questions. We'll go through a few of those. But before that, let's take a look at the thing I found. So I've been playing Total War 3 Kingdoms, and of course, naturally, you have to watch the 3 Kingdoms series. And this is Lubu. And I find this is hilarious because it's Lu Bu, and I'm liking everything so far. The fight scenes are pretty badly choreographed. It's most of the drama, which is really awesome, and the acting, of course. But looking at Lu Bu, who is like the warrior worth 1,000, the warrior without equal, and he shoots an arrow in the scene. That's like, oh man, that. I actually stopped watching the episode because of this particular scene. I just groaned so badly at this technique. Look at that. That is very much. I mean, it's gonna destroy his fingers and the feathers in one shot there. So that is not how you hold a bow. I wouldn't expect Lu Bu to do this. So disappointed in that particular scene. I know the actors probably got like zero combat training. Most of the action scenes are fairly generic anyway. So. It's pretty clever TV editing, but you know, when it comes to a bit of a focus like this, that's pretty dismal. So I actually stopped watching the episode. I'll finish watching the whole series, of course, but I had to stop there and go, ugh. Especially after making the Mulan video, that popped up. So there we go. So, what else are we going to do here? Let's go through our questions. So, we have some pre-prepared stuff. I'm just re-navigating my desktop just because I'm just not used to this machine yet. But let's go through a few quick questions. I might sound different. I'm a little sick at the moment. I'm on the recovery. But hopefully things should be okay. Now, some quick questions from the pre-prepared stuff. Rich Lupo. I'm training for my 70-meter state outdoor championship, which is in August. What should I do in the last week of training? Do I take a whole day off shooting? Yeah. Look, basically in the days before the competition, don't do any heavy training. Make sure you are well rested. There'll be plenty of time to get practice ends and warm-ups when you get to the event, but don't worry about don't overtrain. Have your sight settings, have your equipment in order, but don't do anything exceptional before the event. So just treat it like a practice round. It's nothing particularly more than that. A state outdoor championship is basically a practice round. That's how most of the competitors will think of when they are approaching the event. So yeah, keep it low key. Don't stress out about it, and you'll be alright. Chris Blowfield, when bear shaft tuning, if the fletched and bear shaft groups are together, but the bear shafts are entering the target face knock right, so right-handed, is the center shot too far out? That's usually the case. So with bear shaft testing, if you are looking at the grouping, so with a bear shaft test, you want to group everything together, right? So if you have fletched arrows and your bear shaft in the same spot, that's a pretty good bear shaft test. But if all the arrows are slanted, then that normally indicates the center shot thing. If it's poorly, it might be a spine thing too. It might be a plunger issue, so it's kind of complex there. Most bows have a very clean center shot out of the box, so you don't really have to touch center shot. Try to muck around with the plunger first. Center shot is something you can normally work around, even with slight imbalance. But an offset thing normally means plunges too far in or out, otherwise just center shot. Let's do some quick questions over here again. Let's see, for the center shot, does the string have to be aligned to the right-hand edge of the arrow for a parallel shaft, or is it just a generic starting point? It's a generic starting point. Again, most people don't have to really change that, but that's basically where you start from. And again, the plunger normally does that more so than the center shot alignment. But yeah, that's basically on the right track, Chris. So do what you think you need to do. Recommendations for beginner for target compound bow. I'm the wrong person to ask. How to trim a finger tab? That is a good question, Richard. I don't really have a specific answer with a knife or scissors. This is where you need to figure it out on your own. There is no one size fits all for a finger tab, so it depends on what you think is appropriate for you. So what you'll see here is a finger tab, right? That's a finger tab. Now, to me, this is a pretty factory cut finger tab. It's too rectangular. I don't like how it looks. Okay. Now, for me, if I had a bow, do I have a bow here? Let's grab a bow. Give me a second. Alright, we're back. So we have my new bow actually. This is the Archery. Oh, it's the Liu Yao, which in English is the Flowing Fire. There's no English name for this, unfortunately. They sell this as the Archery traditional recurve bow. I was talking to Lucas from Bows and Bows, and he was. I'm showing the camera, by the way. So that's the new bow I just got, my latest one. He sent me a sample to review. It's basically the Song bow, the Song Dynasty bow. It's been just kind of given a factory paint job, so it looks pretty nice. The problem with this is that it's only sold on eBay. There's no shop that they have. The website is pretty defunct. It's not even finished, so you can only buy it on eBay or Alibaba or AliExpress. So trying to get this bow is a little tough, but it's a nice wood bow. It's a wood bow with glass laminate, and it has a pretty strange tennis grip here. I think that's my turn off, but that's a nice bow. I'm just using it in my video before. But anyway, the finger tab. So the thing I'm trying to show you here is that if I shot this bow, so let's just do that. To me, that's too much excess for the tabs, right? So what I would kind of want is to kind of have the tab trimmed so that it doesn't flap too much around the string. There's too much flap, but obviously not having a smooth release. So in this case, I would probably cut this just above the finger. Okay. Now I don't have my actual gear with me to show you what a properly trimmed tab will look like. I don't really normally touch my tab. My fingers are normally just right. But this particular tab here, I would probably trim. It's designed specifically to be trimmed. So that's why it's so flappy. So I mean, when you have it here normally, it looks okay, but when you wrap it around, obviously it changes in size. So there's no guideline per se. It's what you feel is comfortable. But yeah, just keep in mind that you don't want too much excess leather when you're at full draw with the string on your fingertips. Let's do some quick chat questions while we're doing this, by the way. So now you're in chat here, by the way. I know. Hi, by the way. I'm just trying to catch up with everything else. Give me 2 minutes with the pre-prepared questions, or we'll go to chat questions. The Facebook questions over here. Yeah, can you give me advice on how to not tilt my head towards the string at full draw? All I can say is don't tilt your head. There's no trick or tip or advice. If you know what you need to do, you need to do it. I feel like a really terrible coach by saying this, but I really don't have a tip to say don't tilt your head. Keep your head straight before you even shoot. Let's align everything first. Get your shoulders aligned, get your hips aligned, your feet positioned correctly, face your target, and don't move your head at all when you draw to your anchor point. It's true that most people will have a tendency to kind of move towards the anchor or move forward or tilt down. You have to watch yourself shoot and tell yourself don't move your head. So face your target, don't move your head, draw back. You can practice it with or without a bow, but just keep in mind that you know in the back of your head that you don't move your head. That's what you need to really focus on. But yeah, there's no secret behind that. Just you gotta do it. And I think that's the last bottle cap challenge. Oh, I've already missed that. It's too late now. Okay, back to the YouTube questions, some quick ones. Madison, when I shoot at home, 99% of the time, all my arrows hit the target, but I always left off the center. I have a sight on my recurve, but I can't adjust it anymore to the left. So I'm not sure why my arrows always go to the left. Arrows hit straight into the target. Any pointers? I need to watch you shoot. But more to the point is I'm not exactly sure how you are picturing the sight picture. So here's the thing. If the arrows go straight in, that's normally a sign of a good tune. That's normally the sign. So often if the arrows drift left for a right-handed shooter, the arrows are probably too stiff. That can be a problem. But if the arrows are going straight in, then that's normally a sign of a decent tune. Now, do keep in mind that the distance will make a difference too. Okay, so if you're shooting from a very short distance, it may not be indicative of whether the arrows are in tune. But if you're grouping and you're floating left and arrows are pointing leftwards, then if it could be a sight thing, if the sight is not aligned over the arrow, that could be a problem. That might be the reason why. It may be if you're using a plunger on your bow, that the plungers push the arrow too far to the left, so they're flying left from the bow despite being sighted inwards. Or it might be that when you are shooting, your sight picture isn't consistent. You may, for example, that's your sight on target there. You may have the string positioned in the wrong place. So you are actually, while you're looking at the target, you're actually pointing that way because of the string alignment. So you might want to change the way the string is aligned on target so that you can actually properly align. There are several different reasons. That's probably the best I can do without looking at you personally. But it's probably one of those. And we have like one more YouTube question. Like I said, this is a very snap live stream. Like I said, new rig, new OBS settings. I'm just trying to make this work here. Caleb, how much is the draw weight of your usual bows? Most of my bows are around 40 to 45 pounds. I'm a small guy, so I normally draw around 36 pounds on the fingers. This particular bow here, the Liu Yao is 35 at 28 inch, so I do a full draw at 28 with thumb draw. That's 35. So I'd say 35 to 40 for most of my bows. My Olympic bow is 36, about 35 on the fingers. My other bows are about 40, which is about like 36 to 38 on the fingers anyway. That's my typical draw weight. Oh man, some trash lying around here. Okay, next question. We're gonna fire through these in record speed. Might be a very short stream. James Smith, I think you're in the chat right now. When you hook the string with a deep hook, how much do you curl your finger around the string, and what is the recommended finger pressure distribution? I'll answer the second question first. There is no recommended finger distribution. Every person, every coach would do it differently. So, what you will find is different methods will show different weight distributions. The one I learned first from Kitty Lee's Total Archery, which is what is taught in America now, it's standard NTS system, or NTS, is, I believe it is 30, 40, is that right? No, 40 on the index finger, 50 on the middle finger, and like 10 on the ring finger. So it's a very light grip. It'll look something, oops, don't want to knock anything down here. It's a long bow actually. So it might look something like this. So you've got that positioning like this, but you've got these top two fingers doing most of the work, and you have this one very light on the pad of the finger. This is for Olympic style. That's something which some people do. Now, some people don't like that. They want a deeper grip, and it may be like 30, 40, and 30, for example, okay? Or it might be 40, 50, 10, or it might be 40, 40, and whatever else, like 40, okay? So, or 30, so 20. So, it really depends on your preferences as an archer. So, there's no one correct way to do this. The only advice is you need to experiment what works for you. And next question from the prepared stuff. When aiming, is it better to draw to anchor while holding on the gold, or draw then find gold? You want to draw then find gold. I actually have a video about this already. You don't want to have that habit where you hold everything on target, then keep everything straight, because you're not going to keep everything in line in that one motion. You can't be a robot and go, whoop, like that. It doesn't work like that, because the moment you anchor, you're going to change your alignment. So focus on the draw as a separate step. Draw first, anchor, then aim. Don't aim, then draw. Like I said, it biomechanically, it will change by the time you reach full draw. Your aim point will not be the same all the way through. That's the reason why you don't do that. And the final question is from Song. Is it okay to shoot the bow sideways? Yes, it's fine. It was done historically. In fact, I have a video about this already. Watch Archery Horizontal. I have covered this already. There we go. And it's completely fine. It was used for reasons historically. It works fine. Disadvantages, kind of. You can't really aim. It's mostly instinctive. But there are other advantages as well. People have done some really weird things in this video, by the way. Like the comments in this video are things like, what if you hold the bow in a different way? And I'll show this. I want to do a video about this, but it's so dumb. I can't figure out how to do this, right? So a lot of people were commentating. Were like, what if you hold like this, you can't pull past your chest. What if you hold it upside down? Like, what if you shot like this or something? What if you shot like this? And that's like, that's not how you do archery. Like, you don't hold a bow like that. That's wrong. And but I'm trying to what I'm doing here is I've got the string above the arm and pulling back. That's pretty dumb. I'll explain why in an extended video perhaps, but that's another strange question to keep being asked, because people who don't have a bow and don't hold it have a hard time imagining what it looks like. And that brings us to the end of our prepared questions. Like I said, extremely short lead time, so I do apologize. I've had a pretty bad month, just being ill and among other things as well, so I haven't been prepared for anything in particular. But that has been a very tough month. That said, we've got a lot of time for the live question. So if you're in chat right now, feel free to ask the questions. I will go back up and feel free to ask as of now. So I'm going to scroll through my chat on the screen up here, and let's have a look here. Matt Shawns, do you know of any archery tech that looks interesting? No. Not particularly. I don't really follow archery tech, so I mean, the last thing I saw was pretty interesting was that not the laser sight, the red dot sight that there's a it tracks the trajectory of the arrow. I can't remember what it's called anymore, but yeah, I don't really follow archery tech. I'm a pretty old-fashioned guy, so not really. New limbs rises, I'm a little behind. I don't really follow the latest developments anymore, so can't comment on the newest archery tech. Arby, what's the best budget recurve takedown, but branded like Hoyt? So you want a big brand bow, on a budget. Dead cut. Look at dead cut bows. That they are making a pretty big push in the market. Dead cut's a Chinese company, but you see a lot of the dead cut risers in the market today. So let's have a quick look here. They're not a big brand like Hoyt or Win-Win, obviously. If you want to get like a big brand for budget, WNS, which is Win-Win's budget brand. But seriously, take a look at the dead cut bows. These bows are starting to look really good. This is a dead cut basher. This is a pretty good price. This is like a few $100, like 200 or something. I don't remember how much it cost. It's really a budget level bow. Works completely fine. Let's find a shop. This is a strange. I know the currency. This makes sense to me. This is $300. That's a mid-range riser right there. That's about 280 US. One of the guys in my club, the new guys in my club, just got one of these. And I've held it. It works fine. It's quite industrial. I'm not sure it was this particular model, but it feels quite industrial. Nice solid feel. Looks like a Hoyt in many ways. That's one. Yeah. So my buddy, or the new kid, I think has one of these ones. Or was it one of these ones? The Rhino, really? No, it wasn't one of these. How was it? I remember it was quite industrial. It was silver. It was quite industrial. It's one of these. But Dead Cut, as a brand, it's getting there. As more shops are stocking it now. This is interesting for a budget value. But I think that's the one he has, that silver one. But that's one option. Not necessarily the best option, but it's extremely good for a budget build if you're doing that sort of thing. What else are we doing here? Maria, right-handed archer here. Bear shaft is going far to the right. The spine is okay. Far to the right could be plunger, but the plunger is a fine tune. Assuming your center shot is correct, you don't need to play around the plunger that much. Normally, you'll see grouping issues with the plunger. But if it's far to the right, my first impression would be the spine is too soft. I don't know what your spine is, but the first thing we'll fix is spine. Either change the draw weight or change the shaft. Lower the draw weight. If you're right-handed, you are. If you're right-handed, lower the draw weight. Try to group with the arrows. I find it hard to say that spine is correct if the bear shaft is that far to the right. So check the draw weight, check the spine, then fine-tune center shot and plunger if you need to. Morton, if bear shafts fly perfect, why bother with fletchings? Bear shafts don't fly perfect. Bear shafts indicate what will happen if there is no correction to flight. Now, the problem with a bear shaft is that there is absolutely no correction. The purpose of the vanes, or the feathers, is to correct flight. That means any error in execution in the release or any offset by wind is helped by the rotation of feathers in flight. If you don't have the fletchings, then if you don't release perfectly every single time, the shaft will simply veer off in the direction that it was last pointed at. That's why you have fletchings. Bear shafts are a zero error shaft. Now you do the bear shaft and you do like multiple bear shaft tests to see relative where it would be. So hypothetically, if there was a perfect shot, that means the arrow should go straight there. So if your bear shaft lands in your fletching, that means the fletchers are doing less work to correct arrow flight, which means more consistent groupings. The more it has to compensate, the more variation there will be. That's why you want that too. So the fletch arrows will generally fly more consistently because there's less work to compensate for. But you can't shoot all bear shaft because it simply will shotgun the whole thing. You simply cannot shoot perfectly most of the time. And as the others already said, it increases forgiveness by miles. All right. Just going back to the old questions. Jericho NC. I recently had a trap bow explode in my face. Nearly went blind. Shit. Um, I have. Yeah, I've heard of people have exploding bows and exploding limbs. I've had a shaft blow in my face too. It's something which depends on what bow you use. I've heard of some Chinese bows, especially I think the alley bows, are prone to blowing up. A lot of it's manufacturing faults. It is something you have to check before you use, but sometimes you can't find out if there's a fault unless you shoot the bow. I don't have any particular advice there. If you are afraid to shoot the bow, then I don't really have advice for you to say, look, it's safe. I can't tell you it's safe. It is exceptionally rare, unless you've got a really bad batch of Chinese bows, but it is exceptionally rare. It is unfortunate, and hopefully you didn't suffer any long-term injuries, but that is very, very bad luck. That said, yeah, if it's such a rare thing that I would be confident, unless you bought the same bow from the same manufacturer, that it won't happen again. Look, for my part, in my 8 years of archery, I haven't had a bow blow up on me. Of any kind, all my cheap bows, my expensive bows, my sports bows, nothing's actually happened. I've never seen it crack. I've never seen any bow personally blow up. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. It's exceptionally rare in that case. All right. Skipping down to current questions. I just missed a few things. By the way, yeah, Sun Linda is also a brand worth looking at. Toe Point is there, I guess. If you look at Toe Point, their Olympic bands are pretty good. But yeah, that's an interesting choice. Just kind of following along here. Yeah. I don't know what 60,000 rupees is in Indian currency. But yeah, the Chinese brands I'm looking at, I wouldn't go like anything lower than $100. Like for if you're going for Olympic archery, you want to spend at least like 200, $300 on the riser alone, and about 500 on the bow for intermediate mid-level bow. Beginner bow you can get around like $300, but that's really like like cast aluminium stuff right there. DJ Recess, which bow should I buy if I keep the arrow on the left and shoot with my left hand? You buy a left-handed bow. Wait, keep the arrow on the left. What kind of bow are you getting though? Right? Are you getting a recurve bow with a window that's left or right-handed, or are you shooting a horse bow which has no handedness? If you are shooting on the left, are you shooting Mediterranean draw or thumb draw? If you're shooting thumb draw, then all the bows are the same. Like there's no handedness. Like this kind of bow here, for example, if we're doing like left hand, left side, are you shooting like this kind of bow? There's no side to this bow. They're all standard, ambidextrous. If you're shooting Olympic style with a shelf, then you would need to buy a left-handed bow, but the arrow goes on the right side. You don't put the arrow on the left side in that case. So it depends on what you're doing. The best price for a Yumi, you can buy a Yumi for like $200, I think, but they're not very good ones. Just like bamboo, sharpener, decoration. Wayne, DJ Racer, same question. And would anyone tell me anything if I do it? As in, like, shoot left hand, left side. What technique are you using though? That's the thing. If you're shooting with a Western technique, that's actually wrong. It won't work very well. But if you're shooting, say, Slavic draw or thumb draw, then sure, that could work. Wayne Newman, do I need to buy all three stabilizer rods, or can you shoot with the long one? You don't need all three. The long one is fine. Having a stabilizer rod, the long one, makes most of the difference. The two side ones will make a bit more difference, not a huge amount. Once you use them, you don't want to take them off. But when you start with the stabilizers, you can start with one. Now, if you're getting them, you may as well get all three. But if you're slowly graduating or working on a budget, then sure, just use the one. That works fine. Better than nothing. but it's fine. Laritos, when we introduced to archery about 8 years ago now, can't really not lost count, but about 8 years ago. Jarrett Salo, are neck injuries common in archery? No, I've never heard of a neck injury. You might think, oh yeah, but you're tensing your neck, but the neck's under no load. There's no external force being pushed on the neck, so I don't know how you get a neck injury from archery. You might feel a little sore and tense, but there wouldn't be an injury from archery. I've never heard of a neck injury. Or really any injury. The most common injury would be the shoulders, but neck, never heard of. Let's see. Penguin, what kind of competitions would you recommend for someone shooting 250 thread or average? What round? But that doesn't really matter. Yeah, just go to any competition. Like you don't. The point of a competition isn't to rank or to win or to say that I'm this good. A competition, for the most part, is a social event. You go because you want to try, you want to see how you do in a competition, you want to meet people, you want to experience a competition. You don't need to have a minimum score to compete. So join any event you want. Now if you want to benchmark yourself and measure against yourself, then you know what the records are. You can see, oh, I should be first or second place or top 10 or something. That's fine. But don't say I'm getting this score, therefore I should do this competition. Don't worry about it. If you want to do the competition, just do it. Most people who are there are just doing it because they want to have fun. They're not doing it because of the score. Let's see. RB, have you heard of Indian bows? Not sure which Indian bow you're talking about, to be honest. Let's see. Maria again, 29-inch arrow, 560 spine, 40 pound on fingers. Spine test of 30.5 and perfectly fine, but going to your right. Check the center shot then. 40 pound on your fingers, 560 spine's about right. But yeah, check your center shot in that case. You might have to move your plunger outwards a bit more. Sankre, my greatest weakness in archery would be actually doing it. Especially more recently, I've had a lot of difficulty in staying motivated to do archery. I don't find much purpose in going to my club and practicing because there's no events. I mean, now that you mention it, I think the thing which is now appealing to me is the Indoor World Cup in Sydney. That's something which it's tempting because it's in January. I don't work in January. It's very tempting for me to actually go for the World Cup. So I might have a motivation, but in general, my greatest weakness is just being motivated. A decent archer is going to train a lot. I've been exploring a lot of alternative archery styles, which has been a lot of fun, but I don't commit very well to archery, especially now, years on. I need to go from peak to peak as a person, and when something stagnates over a long time, I tend to lose it. So that's kind of my weakness in archery. I don't stay with the sport very long. My commitment to archery is fairly dismal at this rate. And yeah, but I do apologize. Well, I know you're asking questions below. I'm just trying to catch up with the questions above that. Alex, what do you think about a 22-pound recurve bow? What do I think about it? It's a 22-pound recurve bow. Not sure what answer you want from me there. Nota, do you have any advice, tips on shooting clout? No, unfortunately. I don't shoot clout, never have. I don't have any advice. I'm a bad person to ask, unfortunately. Questions. Jin, got a whisker silencer, waiting for a new string to try them out. Cool. The strings, yeah, good. Yeah, Alex again. I don't know what do you want me to say about 20-pound recurve bow? I don't think of these things. You get a right hand bow, but where you put the arrows on the left. Yes, that's the proper bow. You shoot if you've got a right hand bow, the arrow is on your side. That's a normal bow. Any tips on target panic? Don't shoot at a target. If target panic is often caused by an external reaction, so it might be a clicker, it might be the visual size of the target. First step is remove the target. Shoot at close distance, shoot blind on the target. Close your eyes, you can't miss, focus on form, technique, execution. Then slowly introduce visual stimuli. Put a giant target up, you can't miss it. Just focus on the form, let the arrows hit where they want to hit. Target panic is often caused because of an excessive fixation on the target, and that causes a breakdown in the rest of the process. So to alleviate that, you probably want to remove the target and get comfortable with shooting and bring that comfort and process back to when you do have a target. I've got a video about this, by the way, so yeah, watch my video on target panic. Any pitfalls about an unbranded Black Hunter from AliExpress, Ross? Not really. Black Hunter is pretty generic. It's a typical Chinese brand. It's rebranded with different companies, depending on who sells it, but it's the same sort of thing. So no, not really. Alright, sorry, skipping through questions. Did I have a falling out with my archery club? No, not at the moment. We've had more of a crisis in that we don't have instructors, right? There's me, there's one other guy, and that's basically it. And he was on holidays, so we basically had to force this. In a club meeting. So the mess of the club is we shut down our come and try program because no one could run it. Otherwise, I'm basically paying to work at the club for free. That doesn't make any sense. You can't run come and try every single week when you don't have people to run it. So that was the first thing that had to be forced through, was basically shut down the come and try program, to give something for the members to do. We haven't achieved that yet. I don't have a falling out. It's more like I don't see a point of going back if there's nothing happening. There's no events, no support, no coaching, no training, no motivation, no drive. It's not a supportive atmosphere for me. If I want to compete as an archer, I shouldn't go to my club. That's basically it. The one guy at the club who's competing at the state level now is doing it on its own volition. I unfortunately don't have that grit and support to push through my current level at my current club. That's the problem there. Now, will there be a falling out? Possibly. I'm in open disagreement with a proposal at the moment. Basically, the proposal was, should we outsource our coaching program? And that's actually a normal thing. Coaches should be paid, especially in the Archery Australia model, where we are trying to get more people to be incentivized to do coaching as a profession. We don't really have professional coaches here. We get some people who help out. Clubs have their own embedded coaches. I'm one of them, but we don't get paid for it. So there is a more incentive to basically be subcontracted as coaches. And that's completely fine. It's like a swimming coach. You hire out lanes, student pays you, coach pays a fee to the venue. That could work really well. Problem is that just not enough people can do it. So private coaching, at least in Australia, is pretty unusual and rare. There are people who do that. But our situation at the moment is that some people are talking about paying subcontracted coaches to run the Come and Try program. To me, that's weird. I think Come and Try should be the club prerogative, because if you want to grow your club in your presence, you need to run your own program. If you want to pay a coach to teach you one-on-one, that's a coaching thing. Sure, that's you should do that. If you want to pay, then you should pay the coach. Coach pays the club, that's fine. But the club should be able to handle its own programs. Outsourcing it seems to be a weird thing. That was kind of briefly mentioned. I'm kind of against that, because if you start paying people to run the club programs, there's no room for volunteers. Like, why would we ever come back to volunteer to run a program if someone else has been paid for it, right? That's kind of where things might be interesting. But falling out, no. More like we just had this plateau where there was no one left to run anything. We have new members, but the club direction is kind of pushing members to volunteer to run coaching programs or instructor programs. That's wrong. Members should be allowed to shoot first. Any volunteer work is second. Must be allowed to shoot first. That's kind of what we lost ourselves as a club, was not supporting our members. But how we approach this, I don't know in the future. I've had a lot of issues with myself mostly, but it's something which hopefully will resolve in the future. Alright, what else is happening around here? Ripco. Sorry, was that? Yeah, Sydney might be a good idea. Think about that. Repco, sorry. Before that, hi, Neil, love your work. I averaged 9.0 with 144. That on the 18 meter face. That's pretty good. Now, anything above 9 is decent. It's funny because at close range, like you want like a 9.5 average, but 9 is really good. That means you're doing something really good there. Very well, very well. Your shooting inspires. Which see better results with the Apollo or the Lightspeed? Not really, to be honest. The Inspires and the Apollos are under the same like level. I use Apollos for my practice arrows, but the Apollo's not good an arrow. It's an Eastern Inspire. Trying to see the range here, right? You don't want to go from Inspire to Apollo. That's like the same, isn't it? Inspires how much? So, oh yeah, oh yeah, I see what you mean, yeah. The Apollos will be slightly better than the Inspires, but not by that much, to be honest. The thing is, if you're gonna get a new arrow, there's no point in going mid-tier then. Arrows make a huge difference. 18 meters, not so much. 18 meters, you kind of want a consistent fat arrow rather than a high performance arrow. But if you're shooting long distance, a shaft diameter and shaft material makes a big difference. If you're going to upgrade your arrow and you're sticking with Eastern, then go from the Inspire and go to an ACG or an ACC. If you have extra money, go for the ACE. If you've got extra money, X10. That's kind of really elite level stuff there. You don't want to spend like, $60 an arrow with like tungsten point. That's a bit excessive there. But if you're gonna upgrade from Inspire, go for an ACC and ACG. I think going from Inspire to Apollo is more of a lateral movement rather than an upward movement in your upgrade path. Jay Marshall, how do you deal with grip finger pain after shooting a lot of arrows? You get used to it. Take it easy. If you feel there is pain, then take it easy, call it a day, come back a different day. You will eventually build calluses in your fingers, and you don't really notice it anymore. So when I shoot a lot, especially after a long period of break, it gets a little sore, but it shouldn't hurt. It's more like, oof, that's a little joint pain there. Joints, tendons, calluses take time to build up, so don't try to accelerate by shooting lots of arrows. Just give it time. So shoot consistently, shoot frequently. You eventually get the strength in your fingers to shoot heavier weight, and the weight becomes more manageable. Sankri, do you think meditation will help to strengthen your mind and focus? Yes. Meditation is recommended by a lot of people. I personally don't do it. I'm pretty messed up. But yeah, meditation is something which if you find yourself doing it and you benefit from it, then yeah, it helps your shot process. Don't do meditation just to improve your shot process. I find it's something that if you already do it, then it can help you focus. Focus is paramount in most things in archery. So yeah, it can help. The Friendly Man, what do you think of the way archery is done in the series Arrow? I don't watch Arrow, unfortunately. It's mostly TV archery. They've got their own advisors, and they have their own experts who are responsible for preparing the equipment. Again, it's mostly prop archery and prop bows, so it's kind of excessive. It's cool action for the most part, but it's pretty typical TV fare. Like any superhero movie does the same sort of thing. So I'm not overly impressed. It's superhero stuff, so that's what we expect from actors doing it. What I do is a shot trainer. I don't really use it anymore. Like I said, I'm kind of out of training routine, so I don't really use it. It's a nice warm-up tool, so that's one way to use it. It's used as a warm-up and a cool down. And when you're not shooting like regularly, then use that as a supplement for your training routine. Otherwise, I don't really use my shot trainer as much as I should. It's mostly conditioning, which I need to work on more than anything else. Alright, anything else I missed out here? How do you become a coach? Mostly, so this is edgewise. How do you become a coach? You look at coaching courses. So you first become an instructor. So it depends on which region you're in. There's normally like a level 1 instructor, which runs the basic introductory programs for clubs. Then there's level 2, 3, 4, and so on. So you kind of look at pathways depending on your organization, your country, about what the coaching courses are. My coaching qualification comes as an automatic upgrade. So after doing it for a certain amount of time, then you can upgrade to your level 2 and become a coach. And there are additional seminars and workshops and materials you can do. Be a high level coach. I think our coaching program is a little underdeveloped rather. But elsewhere there is a very strong structure for coaching, especially in the US. I know they've got a very strong, clear bracket for coaches. A video. Some people use the bush rest arrow. Is that the about the whisker biscuit? I'm assuming. Um, the purpose of the hunter rest is that there's less contact with the arrow. Now, the containment rest, like the biscuits, are good for keeping the arrow from falling off because you can walk around and stalk with the arrow in the whisker biscuit. But if you have the hunter rest, then it's gonna have a cleaner clearance, so there should be less inaccuracy because of the biscuit. Same time though, it's more likely to fall off. So if if you know what you're doing, the hunter rest is fine. The biscuit is a bit excessive for a recurve. For compound, it tends to be a bit more desirable because if you're using release aid and you knock it around and it may come off the rest, the biscuit holds it in place. But for recurve, you tend not to worry about that as much. Matt Sean, what time in history interests you the most? World War Two. But I'm really digging like ancient Rome, Greece, and medieval Europe. Those are my methods in university. I did World War Two, Vietnam, American Civil War, and medieval Europe. Medieval is a very big part for me, but I'm getting more fascinated by basically any history I'm exposed to. I really dig. Why are tabs better than gloves edgewise? Tabs tend to form around the fingers more. Gloves fit around the fingers more. Tabs have a smoother gliding surface. So the glove is more practical because you don't have to take it off, but the string is not going to come off as smoothly off the fingers because the glove is shaped to fit the fingers. There's more bumps and stuff around the fingers, so it's hard to get a clean release. Whereas with the finger tab, you can expect clean release. That's why most target shooters will use tabs, whereas field shooters might use gloves. It's mostly a practicality thing. Tabs are generally more consistent with the release. Okay, I think I finally reached the end of the chat there. Alright. Curtis, any beginner recurve bows hunting on a budget? A lot. Look, it depends on what you're buying. If you're buying the wooden recurve, it costs around $200. Like the Samick Sage level, the Southwest Archery bows are very affordable hunting bows. They're completely fine. Ross, would a day cut basher bow be suitable for building bear bow obsession? For your budding bear bow obsession. From what I've seen from the decker bows, they're not ideal for bear bow. They're kind of really shaped and designed for freestyle recurve. There's nothing stopping you from building a bear bow from any target riser and platform. I just feel that it's perhaps not the ideal bow for bear bow. It's not that heavy from what I've held at one time. Isn't it heavy? Isn't really shaped to be a bear bow recurve. It's really designed for freestyle. I'd examine other options if we wanna have a budget bear bow build. Josh, you got the 28-pound Geologic Intake 2 bow. Is that a good bow? I hate this question because people keep asking me this. Yeah, just generally no from what I've seen. I don't tend to review it because I don't have it. No one's going to send it to me. And from what I've seen, it looks like a pretty ugly bow. It's a bow. I'm sure it functions. It just looks really ugly and really cheap. From what I've heard, doesn't look like it's a particularly good bow. So not impressed. I mean, if you've got it, use it, I guess. But I think with the money you can spend on an actual decent bow. How much to make off YouTube? Not a whole lot. Depends on the month. It really fluctuates. I mean, I had a quiet month this month. I didn't make many videos, but I went viral last month, so that kind of jumped up there. So, look, it's enough to pay my bills. That's basically it. Maybe buy a bow or a few arrows. Sanctuary, my back muscles are sore from a lot of training. Is there any recommended rest time? Yeah, rest. As with most training routines, whether it's weight training or strength training, you need rest days. You can shoot most days, but you need time off. Every 3 or 4 days, take a break. So yeah, it's not a secret on how to rest and recover from training. You just need rest. All right. Where do I shop? Depends on what I'm buying. In Australia, I buy most of my gear from Archery. They have the best shipping times, mostly. It's interstate for me, but it's actually fast. They normally get the inventory done right away. Their website is really intuitive. It actually has it synchronized with the inventory, so you don't second guess whether they have it stock or not. I mean, it's like if you buy from, like, I used to buy from Abby, but their online store isn't synchronized to the inventory. So when you're buying something, you're kind of gambling about whether to have it or not. So it's kind of annoying to have to keep coming back and forth with phone calls saying, oh, we don't have this, we don't have this. It happens to all shops, but I've had the best luck with Pats. So they've got the best shipping times for me. Often I can get something sent from Adelaide faster than buying local in Melbourne. So Pats is my go-to. But it depends on what I'm buying. If it's just like small stuff, I'll buy from Melbourne stores like Urban Archery or Odds Hunting and Bows. Otherwise, I'll buy from overseas, like Lancaster in the US is my go-to for like my string materials, and anything I can't get locally, I'll buy from overseas. But that's a pretty expensive purchase really now these days. I don't really buy much more, but yeah, locally, I try to go locally when I can. Lucas, the place I go to only have bows that max out 20 pounds. Should I get my own bow with a heavier draw weight? What bows are they though? Yeah, what bows are they? If they're just wooden recurves, then not really worth it. If they're target bows, we shouldn't be at £20 maximum. I mean, like, the question is, why do you need a heavy draw weight, right? Now, if you're competing, you eventually want to move to heavy draw weight, yes. But yeah, £20 is good starting, but if the club already gives you £20 bow, then you should get a heavier bow. Don't get the weight you already have. Get a slightly higher one and work towards that and keep on moving. I don't play games on my YouTube channel. I play games, yes, not my YouTube channel though. God, I don't want to be a gaming YouTuber these days. Never gonna make that. What else do we have here? Have I heard of Ocean Hook? Yeah, of course I've heard of Ocean Hook. Well, what the thing is form? His form works. Korean archer is one of the best in the world. Holds the record, doesn't he? Kim Woo Jin does now, but he used to hold the record. Yeah, he's awesome. I watch. I mean, we've seen more Kim Woo Jim lately around, and especially Lee Seung John. I think OG Heck's more like last generation, but yeah, he's an amazing shooter. Yeah, very good form, very repeatable. Yeah, space shocking. Yeah, club politics. Is it so much the politics of the club? It's more that I'm getting bored of archery. That's the thing. That's why I'm doing a lot of Asiatic archery. That's kind of what I thought I would be doing. I don't get that buzz from doing archery. At least Olympic style archery. I don't have something to go for. So it's less club politics and more lack of drive and motivation or lack of purpose. That's what's more dulled my enjoyment more than club politics. Thankfully, the club's really small. There's not really a whole lot of like conflicting points of views. But yeah, for me, it's more like a motivation than club politics. Shooting helps, but just yeah, getting excited about archery. It needs to be something there, but there are more general things to work on than just archery. Um, Jared, what was I noticed that there were three holes in a riser. The middle's for stabilized. Okay, so a typical riser. That's not a typical riser. So a typical riser will have at least three stabilizer bushings: top, middle, and bottom. The top and bottom ones are also used for stabilizers. In the past, people didn't always put the long rod and V bars on the middle bushing. A lot of people experimented with different configurations. I mean, V bars weren't always used, right? Especially in the early like 70s and 80s. You often find people with like a long rod on the top or long rod on the bottom and short rod on top. So there are multiple configurations for different rod distributions. Today, the standard is extender, V-bar, side rods, and then long rod in the center. So that's the standard these days. I imagine that's kind of where most people have broken into archery and say, okay, that's what the best method is. Not many people are going back to the old ways. I read a magazine article from the 1970s which outlines like 20 different stabilizer configurations, hence why you have those three things. But for the most part these days, people use one center rod with the V-bars on the same bushing. The top bottom ones may be used for extra dampers, or they may be used for extra weights. But like I said, for the most part, they're there to give the option to add weight or to experiment, but most people tend to stick with one standard layout. The Jang the Panda, from what I've seen from the folding bows, I haven't actually had one or shot one. I have worked with SAS on their, not their survival bow, but for their new bow, the Atmos, which is not a survival bow. What the engineer and designer said about the Atmos compared to survival bows, and which I agree with, is that the survival bows are meant to be durable, they're meant to be multi-purpose. You can basically use a survival bow as a mallet, if you had to. The main problem with survival bows is that they're not ergonomic. So, the grip is large and rectangular. The limbs tend to be they're quite durable limbs. They're very stiff, they're very durable, but it's not intuitive to use. So you're holding what is a rectangle. Imagine like, let's grab a rectangular piece here. Let's grab a stapler, okay? So basically you have this, like, imagine holding two staplers. Actually, more like this, okay? You're holding like, let's get from there. The grip is like this. So imagine you're holding this as your bow grip, and you're trying to keep that. Because the thing has to fold on itself, so it's a very wide bow. You have big hands, and there's no arrow rest. The purpose of the Atmos, in terms of designing it, was that you could hold it as a bow, you could aim it as a bow. Whereas the survival bows, they function as bows, but there's nothing about them which makes them intuitive or easy to use. They're basically there to store the limbs, and then they can fold out for a bow. But as a bow, I haven't used one, unfortunately. I would like to try one, but to me, it's more of a gimmick than anything else. But yeah, the bow works, but they're not intuitive to use. Yeah, I live in Australia. Carson, yeah, I've heard people tend to have weaker spines for the Eastern Arrow chart. I've heard that tends to happen a lot, but it's usually within tuning bracket, tuning range. Osborne, M. Osborne, you're shooting bear bow. Any recommendations for what, the bow or for technique? Lucas, I think the ones that have a Samic Polaris, yeah. Oh, Polaris, people hate me for that. I was thinking about going 35 pounds. Chief, well, yeah, 30 pounds is a bit much for. If you're shooting traditional, yeah, 30 to 35 pounds should be okay. I mean, like, if you're buying your own bow, I'd go for this 25-pound bow or 30-pound bow. There's no point getting a 20-pound bow if you already learned a 20-pound bow. Match on the game. Are there any accessories you'll find essential in archery kit? Yeah, multitude. Definitely get an Allen key set, multiple ones of these, because you need imperial and like metric ones. Yeah, Allen key sets are definitely useful. Wax, glue, hot melt, a lighter, Pliers, multi-tools are very useful. Yeah. Basically everything you said, that you want to bring that in your kit. Bring spares of everything. Spare knocks. You definitely. Oh, I cleaned up, unfortunately. That thing here. Bring spare knocks. One of the things which is interesting that was published recently in World Archery, and the Australian coach, one of the coaches, Jim Park, said that basically have lots of disposables, arrow points, arrow knocks, and vanes. Knocks especially. What he recommended was to replace them after every competition. Like, now they're so cheap, but a bad knock can ruin a shot because there's slight inconsistencies. You might lose a bit of weight. Replace your knocks. So always carry a lot of spare knocks. Do not go stingy on knocks. Tonight the archery juice is just Pepsi Max. Had it since the morning, so it's pretty flat now. But yeah, I've actually been drinking the 1893 special edition, the Pepsi 1893. It's weird. It's like a flat Pepsi. It's not bad, but I'm not sure. You kind of missed that bubble hit. I'm not a sugar freak, but that's a weird drink. What else do we have here? Have I used an archery simulator? No, I haven't. I've seen some of them, not in person. I've seen them, but we don't have one, unfortunately. So I haven't come across it. Josh, yes, SPTs are fun to get into. You will hate them, but if you want to start early, yeah, SPTs are great. It is very specialized training for archers. You will benefit from SPTs. You just need to do it consistently. If you don't do it consistently, there's kind of a bit of pain in the shoulders, but you will find yourself benefiting from long-term growth if you commit to doing SPTs regularly. Repco, my opinion using no extender. Okay, Bray Ellison does some pretty weird stuff on his bow. Experiment. I tend to be more orthodox. If it works, I don't really muck around with it. Some people put like no extender and put all the weights in the end and with V-bar in the end. It's some weird stuff. And I know Kissy Glee has tried some weird stuff too back when he's in Australia. So experiment. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then nah, it doesn't work. 3D is nice. Just in general space, doing more archery is a good thing. I just don't really give myself time to do archery. But like I said, I'm doing more Asiatic archery than 3D. 3D would be nice. One of my club mates is kind of giving me more 3D in the field. So doing any kind of archery would be pretty cool at the moment. At the moment, I'm not really doing any kind of archery. So yeah, we'll get there eventually. We'll see. By the way, World Archery contacted me again. Because I work with Chris, who is the guy who does the PR. I guess he's the PR guy. Does the social media stuff and the streams for the World Archery channel. I got contacted by the marketing guy, who is Thomas, and he saw my video on the World Archery shop items, and he offered to send me some new merchandise. So that's pretty cool. The second time I've been recognized by World Archery, actually said, "Hey, thanks for your work for the sport, and yeah, we'll send you stuff." That's pretty cool. That's a nice thing to do. Yeah, knocks break a lot. Amazing Shark. To be able to shoot plastic veins off a recurve arrow rest, does the arrow need to be nearly perfectly spined? Yes. The vein should not contact the rest. If your arrows are not well spined, it will create contact. And you normally see this through streaks. If you see plastic streak marks on your bow, then the spine is wrong. There's clearance issues. But yes, you would need to shoot with the proper spine arrows in order to get proper clearance. Yap Sean or Sean Yap. What do I think of other projectile weapons like blow darts? I don't think about them. I'm an archer. Why would I think about them? People keep asking me like, what do you think about this? If I don't think about it, I have no opinion. People ask me, what do you think about longbows? The bows? I don't really think about them. I'm not sure what answer you expect me to get. Like, what do you think about this or this or this? I don't come into things usually with a preconception or a predisposition. It is what it is. I often don't really care about what it is. So, you can't really solicit an opinion from me if there's no reason for me to have an opinion in the first place. Anyway, we've reached the end of the chat there. Whew, bit of a rush there. I think we're in it. I'm getting pretty tired. I've got some work to do and a video to edit. I'm getting a little sleepy, so we're in it there. I'm happy that this stream has worked. We got everything set up. OBS is working, camera's working fine. I've seen us solve the USB problem. Everything seems to be working fine. So, oh, hang on, one other question. Do I still have a Warzone? No, I don't. Mel resume. If Olympic shooting is on target and is strong, why is the proper way of hunting on a distance? I'm trying to clarify the question here. If Olympic shooting is on target and is strong, not sure what that exactly means. Can you clarify that? Why isn't it a proper way of hunting on the distance? The technique's the same thing. The technique is modified for the equipment used for Olympic archery, which you don't use for hunting. The thing of hunting is that you need to guarantee an ethical kill shot. If you shoot at a longer distance, you don't guarantee that. The animal might move, the wind might blow your arrow off. So an Olympic shooter is going to hit the same spot at 70 meters in perfect conditions. You're not going to get a 70 meter clean shot in most conditions in the field. So that's why hunters will shoot at 50 or 30 meters or less. So the function and purpose and goals are very different. So you don't shoot Olympic form for hunting because you don't need Olympic form for hunting. Hunting only needs to be accurate enough to hit a kill shot at 30 meters, around there. Most Olympic needs to shoot like an eyeball size X-ring at 70 meters. It's excessive. Sports archery is not practical, let's put it that way. It's an extreme test of precision, but it is not practical. Am I doing VR? No, not really interested in VR. Don't have room for it either. So yeah. Okay, I am just gonna probably head off. I am going to probably fall asleep very soon. Haven't slept much recently. Got a lot of schoolwork to do. What I might do is I might call it early night, maybe finish my video and wake up early into something and do some work. But we'll figure it out then. But thanks a lot, guys. This was a very short notice stream, but I appreciate that you guys have joined in. These streams are becoming a lot more popular as more people are tuning in. I know people ask me questions right at the end here. Come on, guys, give me a break. Fine. Here we go. Darren, I'm still relatively new to the sport, but had a disastrous day yesterday. Couldn't find my comfort zone. Come back the next day. I just do it again. Don't overstress, don't overthink it. Just come back, do it again. Just work through it. If you have a coach, talk to your coach. If there's someone else you can talk to, then talk to that person. Like talking helps. Get some input. Let them give you some advice. So find a way to break the cycle and you'll be okay. Amazing Shark for £30 recurve. I'm using the 400 spine East Helios. 100 grain tips. And this is stir fry. Great. Do you recommend to correct this? I'm using 400 spine for £30 recurve. Ouch. 75, I guess. That's a really light spine. I mean, like you really probably want a heavier spine, a heavier tip. I don't recommend like 100, 125 grain tips. If you have that stiff and narrow 400, you probably want a 75 grain tip. Even so, that's quite heavy for a 30-pound recurve. That's probably much more for a 40-pound recurve. That might be beyond correction point, but yeah, 75 grains. Ouch. Jane the Panda, I want to start historical archery. There's so much misinformation out there. Do you think the book Warbows by Mike Lodes is a good start? Yes, Warbows is an excellent book. I've got it, by the way. It's a compilation of many of his Osprey books, which are very accessible. Mike Lodes is an excellent historian. He has a very accessible style. Plus, he is very clear on what his experiences are. He actually performs and practices the styles he talks about, so he's very comfortable with the source material. So yes, Warbows is an excellent compilation of all of his work so far, plus on Yumi bows. So definitely, it is a good book. I would say definitely reliable. As far as it's a recent release now, and it's been updated. So yes, definitely, Warbows from Mike Lodes is a worthy read. Yeah, start from there and then start investigating more books as you go along. I've got quite a few in my collection. I will sometime review the books I have, and maybe that will get you interested as well. Anyway, let's stop it there. Thank you all for joining me. Hopefully things work well without a hitch. Again, I had to like set up my OBS in the last minute there before we went live, but that should be okay. So anyway, take care wherever you are. Hopefully you're enjoying your archery and whatever you're doing, and hopefully someday I will enjoy mine too. Take care, people, and I'll see you all next time.